Sarah Tilton. Sarah is the Director of Compliance and Advocacy for Britax Child Safety. As an active CPS Tech since 2002 and an instructor in 2003, Sarah is the spokesperson for Britax within the advocacy community, participating in child passenger safety activities at a local, state, and also national levels in the United States, Canada, and Latin America. Sarah serves on the new product development, technical writing, and marketing teams at Britax. In addition, she managed and developed the training curriculum for the Britax Consumer Services Department and organized and implemented a permanent checking station at Britax during 22 plus years with the company. She has served on the National Child Passenger Safety Board, representing the at-large population. And we are very fortunate to have her on the call with us today. So with that, Sarah, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks, Stephanie. And thank you everybody for being here. While you were reading the objective, Stephanie, I noticed that we have the same objective twice. Thank you, Sarah, for doing such a good work at checking that. I'm giving myself a dig, guys. So sorry. I'm sure I meant to change it to something, but you know, it didn't happen. Ultimately, yes, today we are going to talk about Britax slimming it down. First, I am going to run through the existing platforms, if you will, just to touch on the highlights of them. This is my email address if you don't have it, always, and we'll see it again at the end. So if you don't get it here, you know, don't worry about it. It'll be at the end again as well. I do want to thank you, Stephanie, State Farm, Safe Kids for hosting this event today, as well as all of you technicians and instructors who are joining as well. Thanks for your time. And we're just going to go ahead and get started by, you know, these models here are all being phased out. We are no longer producing them. They're no longer being manufactured, but you're going to see them as they move through retail, still being sold, maybe at that retailer that still has inventory. And based on their expiration dates or usable life from date of manufacture, right, we're likely to see these around for several years to come. I bring this up because often when you say a seat is being discontinued, the first question is, well, what's wrong with it? It just simply means that manufacturers are making room for new models, right? The same model of vehicle is not always manufactured. It may go for several years and then it kind of fades out and it's replaced with newer models. And that's ultimately the case with these models as well. And we'll start by looking at the harness to booster, the Grow With You ClickTight, and ClickTight Plus all remain in production currently. You're going to see the harness, the weights at the bottom of these slides. And these are the weight ranges and height ranges that these seats have been manufactured at for a handful of years now. And we will talk about some changes that are coming. But what you see here is what is being manufactured currently. There has been no changes to the design or anything of these seats. They continue with a 9-year expiration from date of manufacture. The 2-stage belt positioning booster seats are in the same category. They continue to be manufactured the same. And ultimately, you know, as we talk about the changes that we'll see in products, not just Britax, but, and I'm sure you've heard it about other manufacturers as well, with weight changes. Booster seats really have the least amount of changes that we'll see in the coming months. but both the skyline on your left and the high point on your right remain unchanged. The differences between these two, for those of you who might be new, the skyline on your left, the black, compared to the green on your right, which is the high point. Skyline does not have that secure guard clip between the child's legs, kind of looks like a red buckle almost, but it's simply the lap portion of your belt slides up underneath there, and it helps to minimize or prevent submarining of the child, and it can also help to position the lap belt more appropriately, as well as there are some energy absorbing cushions here on the side of the high point and the torso area that the skyline does not have. When we talk about the all-in-one One4Life, and if you, I'll sometimes now refer to this as the One4Life OG, but it continues the same as well. No changes have been made to this product to date. And I'm gonna reinforce that all the seats I just showed you that are currently in production are as they are made currently. Last year, end of last year, we introduced a new rear facing only seat. And we started out with the Willow that was only sold as a travel system. Now in these rear facing only seats, we started naming both the carrier and the base. They have separate names, although overall in your platform name, the base is not called out. So your Willow travel system had, the base is the Aspen. And then when you go to the Willow SC, and Cypress, it is the Alpine base. And it has the anti-rebound bar versus no anti-rebound bar. Simply the only difference between the two bases. The differences as you go from Willow to Willow S is bringing in that anti-rebound or rebound reduce energy bar. The Willow SC brings in a different carry handle, which has a one-hand rotation at the top of the handle. And then the Cypress brings in a little bit different fabrics, as well as inserts for between the carriers. And we always have a battle of the inserts, right? They look a little bit different from seat to seat. One has, you'll see the Cypress has a few more pieces of inserts than some of, if you start to the left with the Willow and the Willow S. And it's just creating different features and different use for the seats. So when we look at the Aspen, and I think I said that backwards before, if I did, I apologize. The Aspen base does not have the rebound reduce stability bar, and the Alpine does. It's the only difference between these two bases. Everything else that you see about these bases and the way they are installed is identical. And I do have a couple of short videos just to reinforce the installation of these. And one of the things that we find that still tends to be a bit challenging with this particular implementation of ClickTight is leaving that seat belt sloppy loose. You really have to leave more slack in the seatbelt system, because where you see this blue belt path label, the belt route, if you will, once the ClickTight mechanism is closed, is kind of like a U. The legs of the U are a little bit short. However, they are deep enough that we tend to not leave enough slack, and then either struggle to get ClickTight closed, or we do get it closed, but then it really ultimately is a bear to get it released. It does have the push-on lower connectors here underneath this lid, and in the bottom of that area is where the date of manufacture label is on the base. And of course, on all the carriers, it's on the underside of the carrier. All Willow, Willow S, Willow SC, and Cypress all have a 6-year expiration from date of manufacture. And I'm just going to play these videos for you really quickly. There's no audio. They are videos that we did for Instagram, I believe. They posted these. And you'll kind of see it's pretty loose. And if you guys know me, I'm not very tall. I'm only about 5 foot, 5'1", and it's pretty easy for me to do it, you know, standing on the ground outside the vehicle. At least one of my legs were, as long as you don't have too much tension on that vehicle belt. And then with the lower connectors, you'll see there's your date of manufacture label. And this was in an Acura RDX. And then the inner anchor was a little bit challenging to get to, and you'll see that here in just a minute. And I did all the normal things, right? Didn't leave myself enough slack. I had trouble getting on that anchor. But it was okay because it's real life, right? Nothing ever goes perfectly. If you see that strap in the middle there, it is important to make sure that that is to the left or the right of that pin if they're using lower anchors, so it doesn't affect that pin from completely engaging. The other thing I do want to point out is this particular user guide, or for all 4 of those models, does say that up to 4.7 inches of overhang is acceptable. The picture you see in the upper left-hand corner is an installed base. So it's got a seat belt through it and it is tightened down in a 2023 Honda CRV in an outboard seating position. So once it's properly installed, it kind of gets pulled into that seat bite. It is a bit of a longer base than the Be Safe 35 was. However, the carrier is shaped differently. So when it sits in the vehicle in the base overall, it doesn't take up any more front to back space than the previous version of it. You know, this was, you could say, kind of part of the slimming it down, right? Making a narrower convertible without the cup holders. So of course, when you attach the cup holders, it does make them a little bit wider. 50 pounds rear facing, 65 forward. These all have a 10-year expiration from date of manufacture. And the date of manufacture label is underneath the child's left knee, like it is on many of our seats. I do want to point out, it's kind of visible on both, but the way they covered the bottom portion, covering up the ClickTight mechanism, which is much like what you see on the One4Life OG, the big squeeze mechanism underneath the cover. There's kind of 3 layers right there at the front if the infant insert is in place. So just pull up the covers until you get to that hard plastic seat pan. And that's where you'll find the date of manufacture. This is just a quick video, and there you can see the elastic being pulled up. And there, if you were looking for the date of manufacture label, you would have pulled up that other layer of fabric. But it's just like the other ClickTights. goes through the belt paths, which are very similar to that of the previous Marathon Boulevard and Advocate ClickTights. And of course, forward facing, the use of the top tether is always highly recommended. We did change the user guide a little bit over time regarding use of the recline indicator. Of course, sitting here on a flat surface is not always a good way to look at recline indicators. But we were a little bit more elaborate, I guess, in trying to describe it. And we're simply looking for the appropriate colors, which kind of mostly go in line with what we had previously done on the One4Life. And we talk about overhang as well, and we do have in the user guide that we don't allow side overhang. This particular seat, now this does not apply for every Britax seat, but when you look at the bottom of this seat, we internally, we haven't really named these two rectangular shapes here. We call them the runners in-house. But when you sit it on a flat surface, it's these two pieces that are actually making contact with a flat surface. So in between those two vertical green dotted lines is what must be, excuse me, what must be supported by the vehicle seat. So when we say no side overhang, from the green line to the outer edge, it's not intended to touch the vehicle seat anyway. So that is what needs to be contacting the vehicle seat. We do have some changes that'll be coming up because of regulation changes, and we may choose to clarify that a little bit moving forward. We'll just see how that goes internally, okay? But that is what must touch the vehicle seat. And with this, I just wanted to share as well the installation comparing a Boulevard ClickTight to the Poplar and Poplar S, because ultimately those two sit the same. And the Poplar and Poplar S actually sits just a little bit lower, but it really doesn't take up, it doesn't take up any more front to back space. And you can kind of see that I'm at a little bit of an angle when I took the picture in the center, but they are pretty much interchangeable as far as space. And in some aspects, I think the Poplar and Poplar S is a little bit better at that. I do, constantly, repeatedly, we get the question about, can the retractor be switched or locked when installing ClickTight convertibles or ClickTight products? I'm going to tell you, your ICSs have a very specific statement in them, the Willow, Willow S, Willow SC, and Cypress, that says do not switch the retractor. And the Poplar and Poplar S, if you're going to switch the retractor, it's important that you understand and you educate the caregiver how to remove that car seat from the vehicle. We have had, they pop the vehicle buckle, and the retractor, once the mechanism is open, starts to take up the slack, and then you get a latch plate stuck in the belt path. So the user guide does not tell you to lock or switch the retractor. I understand that there is often a desire to do so, but please make sure that you understand and the caregiver understands how to get that out. This is an FAQ on our website, so it is available for both you guys as technicians, instructors, as well as caregivers to access. I will just take a quick minute to introduce Romer to all of you. Romer is a brand that we have introduced here in the US market. Hopefully we see more products coming in this brand. The first of the two that have come to market in the Romer brand is the Junie with the Versa base. And there are a lot of similar features here, but the Versa base does bring in the load leg and brings that back to the market for I guess you'd call us the mother company now, to the Romer brand. Britax did bring a load leg to the market back in, I believe it was 2005, the first load leg to the market, and it didn't do really well. There wasn't a lot of, education around it or understanding. But then the second seat, it would be the Veni convertible. And it has some, very, very nice accents. It has secure lock installation. And again, you'll see some very similar features. These two products are not sold at mass market. They are sold at independents. And I say mass market, they're not like on online, large areas like that. Height and weight changes. You're going to see the products that we just talked about in the coming months. There was a date out there of December 5th, 2024, what many of us refer to as the amendment. And about a month or so ago, that date has been moved out to June, the end of June 2025, to align with the side impact regulation that car seat manufacturers are also working on. So some of the seats, you may already be starting to come out with those updates, just because we were working towards that. In our rear facing products, or any of our harness products that can be used rear facing, we'll be adding minimum heights to them. And then forward facing harness, we will be starting at 30 pounds. So with a minimum height of 35 inches. So if we currently have something that starts at 22 pounds or 25 pounds, it will be stepping up to 30 pounds. I will tell you, moving in the coming months, you probably still have a few more months before you see anything step out into the market other than what we're about to talk about. We're going to start seeing these changes happening in Britax products because we were moving to hit that December 5th date. Some now may come after that date, but you will be seeing these changes. And this is to align with the updates that were released, like I said, as we were referring to it as an amendment to FMVSS 213. And that regulation it says the minimum forward-facing weight needed to be at least 26.5 pounds. And for rounding purposes, we chose to go with the 30 pounds to make it a nice round number. And with that, I'm going to introduce to you guys the One4Life Slim. It has 10-year expiration date from date of manufacture. It's bringing all of those great features of the One4Life in a much narrower seat. Of course, without the cup holders. So let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at the Slim. So this is going to be your first seat that from Britax that you'll see. We did start this seat at 30 pounds forward facing with that 35 inches. The heart booster mode ultimately has stayed the same as the previous, or I should say the OG version. And we have four very nice fabrics, if you will. We got a little bit of color, but know us, we like to have our grays and our blacks. So here in the US, we do have four colors, four fashions coming. I do have a slide at the towards the end of this. I know some of you guys are from Canada and are going to want to know the differences. So when we talk about the weights ranges, those are only changing here on existing product in the US. So rear facing, it'll be that 5 to 50 pounds, forward facing 30 to 65, and then booster mode 40 to 120 pounds. All right. And this is about 17 inches without the cup holder, 17.5 with the cup holders. Maybe a little bit wider than that, 17.5, I'm sorry, without the cup holders. This is just an example. One of the things you will also see with the amendment updates is kind of the relocation and clarification of height and weight ranges by mode of use. If you remember, there used to be one overall height and weight range statement in the warning label. And with the amendment, those weight and height per mode of use will be listed by mode of use. So here you can see the blue is for rear facing, green is forward, and then the red is for the booster mode. So when I've done zoomed in like this, I'm also showing you guys the whole seat, just so you get an idea, where this information is located on the seat. All right. It used to, people would say, hey, I don't know what model we have. And it used to be up on the head cap, or what we refer to it, kind of where you squeeze to raise and lower the head restraint and harness height. The One4Life Slim has kind of a flag tag on the side of the main cover. So that's where you're going to find the name of the product. So the One4Life Slim has a lot of, the same features that Britax has brought to market in many of our platforms over time. And again, mimicking the original all-in-one One4Life. And so the cup holders are dishwasher safe. There's not the 9 recline positions, right? There's 1 through 8 that can be used as long as you are getting the indicator and the appropriate color for the direction and child fitment. And then you have the 9th position being B for booster mode. Has safe cell in it. Now, one of the things you will notice, if you didn't, and maybe some of the previous illustrations, it's a little bit hard to see here, but like safe cells are no longer red in this particular platform. They have been turned to the gray black color, trying to make the seat a little bit more visually aesthetic. Cup holders. So out of the box, it comes with caps. I'm trying to think of what I showed. I'm just going to back up here. I'm sorry. I should have pointed this out. In the left illustration is where the cup holders go. There's caps in place there. And then the middle, the forward facing and the booster mode show the cup holders in place. Regardless of how you're using the seat, rear facing, forward facing, or in booster mode, either the caps or the cup holders should be in place, must be in place. And it is not because of structural, it's simply making sure that that cavity is covered up. So one of the two need to be in place, okay? And that is in the user guide for you guys. Typically, I try not to tell you too much of anything that's not supported by what you guys can find documentation wise. Right, 17.5 without the cup holders. The cup holders add that inch to it, making it 18.5. I think are ideally, you know, you'd always love to be narrower, but it's like trying to fit 5 pounds of sugar in a 1 pound bag, right? Doesn't always work. 17.5 without the cup holders, 18.5 with the cup holders in place. The infant inserts. Ultimately, all 3 pieces of inserts are optional. But if you use them, they must be removed for 20 pounds for the child. Recently, a question I had was about there is a specific statement in the user guide that says you cannot use the head infant insert without the middle infant insert. And that is because if you look in the upper right-hand corner, you can see that that head insert kind of has a tongue that slides into the middle infant insert. That's what holds it in position. So you cannot use the head insert without the middle infant insert, but you can use the middle infant insert without the head insert. It's simply just because of how the head insert is dependent on the middle infant insert for positioning. Hopefully that's clear. Recline, again, very similar to what you're seeing in the One4Life original. The indicator is moved kind of up underneath towards the front. You'll see it kind of right underneath the cup holder area or cap area. And then the recline, push to recline as well is the gray. Safe cell is the darker gray black color, but it is still there. This particular seat, you know, and I pointed out the points of contact on the bottom of the base with the talking about overhang. This base is designed differently, so the entire width of the base has to be in contact with the vehicle, because those areas in the you're looking at from a front view in the blue circles, that is where the surface runs from front to back, because there is a little bit of an arch in the center of that base. So the entire width would need to be supported. And it does have the 3-inch acceptable overhang off the front edge of the vehicle seat. The date of manufacturer label is underneath the child's left knee again. And it does have 10 years from date of expiration. Just a few points of differences for the US compared to Canada. Again, the Canadian seats will start at the standard 22 pounds because the amendment is only applicable to the US or FMVSS 213 certified seats. The inserts are slightly different. Your Canadian products will have the lower infant insert required up to 22 pounds. And you guys, I believe as of right now, will be getting 2 fashions, the parchment and the raven black. The anti-rebound bar will be included and is required in Canada. Here in the US, it will be sold as an accessory, and it is optional for rear facing. Currently, we don't have any plans to include it with a seat in the box in the US. We've started some other products out like that, and then retailers requested a version like that. So we'll see how that goes. Ultimately, these are the highlights of the differences between the two different seats. Canada, I think you should be seeing those seats probably in a couple months, hopefully. I know that they are, they're in production, so hopefully within a couple of months you guys will see them. I don't know this exact date that they will start shipping. Just to review our replacement policy after a motor vehicle crash, we do follow the NHTSA guidelines. And this is outlined in the user guide for all of our products. You know, often we'll get people say, oh, we'll just call and get a letter. Typically we'll refer you back to the user guide, and PDFs can be downloaded off of our website. So typically just providing anyone who's requesting that, an insurance company, whatever, the user guide for the product will accommodate their request. So just sharing that. With that, I do want to share that we are going to have a giveaway, and we are going to give away 2 One4Life Slims. I will do my best to accommodate color choices. However, it will be based on product availability. So if you request, the winner requests certain color and I can't fulfill that, I will let you know what I do have available and able to send. And Stephanie, do you have something you wanted to add here?
I do, but first of all, I just love all the hearts and cheers that go up with that.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. With that, when the webinar is over, I will randomize 2 winning names, and then Sarah will send out information to you with the email that you've provided when you registered if you're the winner. And then also on the Facebook page, the National Certification, CPS Certification Facebook page, those winners will be announced on there as well. So you can watch for that this afternoon. I'll get that done right away for everybody. So thanks for that, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you, Stephanie, for managing that portion of it. So with that, I will leave this up here for you guys to, you know, note my contact information. I will let you know it's easier for me to reply to emails than voicemail, but you can reach me in any one of these ways. Stephanie, do you have questions?
There are some questions, and while I'm talking a little bit more about the CEUs again, Sarah, the first, Judy had just asked if you could go back to the slide of the discontinued car seats, if that's possible, if you went back to that. She just wanted to see that one more time, and if you can do that, Sarah, that'd be great. And
everybody close your eyes for a minute, because I don't want you
that's
to
right.
get sick while I go back.
That's right. And while Sarah is going back to that slide, just remember also, Judy, that you will be getting with your event ID number tomorrow after 2 p.m. Eastern time. The handouts will be coming to you as well. You'll have a link to those handouts. So you'll be able to go back and see this too. But while Sarah's looking for that, just wanted you to know that.
So again, these are just no longer in production, making room for the new models, right? And we are likely still going to see these as they move through retail. You know, larger retailers may have more inventory than others.
Perfect. Some of these questions, Sarah, you may have talked about as you were going on, but I just want to make sure that our participants don't miss out on them. But Danielle was wondering, are there the tech discounts for the Romer seats as well?
We have not included the Romer seats and the tech discounts at this time. It is something that may be added in the future, but until retail is satisfied, if you will, meaning that they aren't ordering quicker than we can supply, at that point, potentially we will add them.
Okay. And then along with that, Cheryl is also wondering, is there institutional sales possible for nonprofit certifying agencies like Safe Kids or AAA Foundation she's especially is interested in the One4Life for their training?
We don't have a standard protocol, if you will, for institutional pricing, or distribution, but you can certainly reach out to me and we can, communicate about volume and all those kinds of things. And typically those requests I will end up turning over to our sales department because they would require a formal account to be set up, where normally tech pricing is a credit card purchase.
Okay. Okay, great. And then moving to different topics, Kayla is wondering, are the new Willow seats compatible with both bases?
The Alpine and the Aspen base, yes. The only difference, they're interchangeable. So if you buy, a version that has the anti-rebound bar, or otherwise known as the rebound reduced stability bar, it's a mouthful, guys. I'm sorry, I still struggle with it. And some people, when they're buying their second base, will buy the version without it. It's a little less costly, and you're typically using it less, but yes, they are both interchangeable.
Okay. Denise wondered, the decision to meet NHTSA's upcoming minimum weight for forward facing by stating the nice round 30 pounds. Will that also apply to the Romer?
Everything that we make, it will apply to. Yes. Some may happen sooner than others. Like I said, we were working towards the December 5th date. And so some are already in process. Again, you're just going to have to, please check the labels. Don't assume that, every Model X seat that you see has the same weight range.
Okay. And then Rebecca asked, just to go over again, what are the height and weight limits on the Romer seat?
So right now it is 5 to 50 pounds rear facing, and forward facing 22 to 65 pounds, with an overall height of 49 inches. And that's the convertible. The rear facing only would be 5 to 30 pounds and up to 32 inches.
Great. And then Kelly asked, is the One4Life Slim certified to 213A?
It is the market, what is in the market currently is not.
Okay. All right, great. And then I do have a couple more questions here. Melissa is wondering, have you noticed at all, Sarah, difficulty with recline for the Romer Junie base with rigid lower anchors and steeply sloped vehicle seats?
So referring to the that user guide, there is, if you carefully check out the wording in that user guide, it's really not telling you to use the recline foot when you are using rigid latch or the rigid connectors. You would leave the foot in because it is rigid and they're not flexible. They're going to go straight into the connector. And if you've had a problem in a specific vehicle, If you would email me that information, and if you have pictures, that would be helpful as well for me to share with the internal team.
Okay. And speaking of sharing with the team, Melissa was wondering if the team has ever considered adding a second data manufacturer sticker for the Aspen Alpine base. Most caregivers, so that they don't have to remove the lower anchors in order to access that information.
That is, we struggled with where to put that, quite honestly, a little bit, simply because the bottom of the base is flat, so we can't put it there because it will rub off from the vehicle seat cushion. And then finding space to put it that the carrier doesn't sit, that there's not some sort of rubbing interference. But I will certainly share that concern and question.
Great. And Veronica asks, is the new One4Life installation forward facing, possible in a seat position without upper tether anchor available in the vehicle? Vehicle manufacturers are still putting 7 passenger vehicles out with only 3 tether places.
For Britax products, the answer to that question is yes. Britax highly recommends the use of the top tether in forward-facing installations. However, it is not required.
Okay. Couple more, Sarah, as I'm going through them, more are coming in. So thanks for
we got time.
Yeah, that's great. Jan is asking, what are the differences between the Poplar seats and the Romer convertible or the Romer Veni?
That's a great question. It's ultimately the brand, the accents to the consumer, the fashion/fabric are significantly different. The fabrics on the Romer products are in what they call it's a seawool, and it is made out of recycled oyster shells and recycled bottles. So it's for a lack of better words, right? It's stepping up the features, if you will, and the accents to the consumer.
Okay, great.